Hi, this is Mashnu, and I've been looking at the game that you sent me. A beautiful game, well played. You won this game with black, and I'm impressed about your chess. This is really a good game. You made well use of the weakened pawn structure around the opponent's king, and started a beautiful attack without hurrying too much, but just on time with the good preparation. Let's have a look at the game, because there are a few important moments that I've been examining. This is the Caro-Kann defense, the exchange variation, knight f3, knight c6, bishop e2, knight to f6, now castling kingside, and here, well, there are different options. According to the theory, the most common move is bishop to g4. This is not what you played. You played bishop to f5. After bishop to g4, later this bishop is traded for this knight on f3, so white doesn't have the influence of this knight in the center. And the idea of bishop to f5 is the bishop is well placed there. We see in some variations that later h6 and bishop to h7 is played if necessary, so the influence of this bishop on this diagonal stays there. But in the game something else happened. Let's see, c3 was played here, e6, and now your opponent played h3. That is the first weakening of his pawn structure on the king side. And I like how you later in the game used this move h3, because it gave you the idea of attacking, advancing the g-pawn and threatening later with h6, g5, g4. You played here bishop to d6, developing your pieces, placing them on a correct place to support eventually an attack later. Bishop to e3 played by your opponent. I think that a better option would have been to play knight to h4, and this is something that I started analyzing after I'd seen the complete game, and how I was thinking, okay, on what point could white have done better to prevent this very active play that black got. So I think knight to h4 would have been an improvement. Of course he wants to take the bishop on f5. If you play it to e4, then he replies knight to d2, so there is no way to prevent to trade this bishop. If your rook goes to c8 now, that's, let's say, the normal move here, then you can take here. And here is an important moment, because many people would here retake with knight automatically to keep the pawn structures like it is, and attack with the queen the knight on h4. But fact is that after taking with the pawn, so d takes e4, this knight on h4 now looks really bad. All the escape squares are taken, so it's like an unemployed knight here. There is still a possible nice continuation for white to play f4 here, followed by g3, so f4, and then if for example knight to e5, to play g3, and then try to reroute this knight to g2 and to e3. I think this might have given some better chances for white, although still this advanced pawns here can give you some ideas to start attacking on the king side. But well, let's see how the game continued, because in the game he didn't play knight to h4, he played bishop to e3. You castled king side, he continued developing knight to d2, rook to c8, bishop to g5. So here we see that this bishop is was actually losing time. He lost the tempo by bringing it first to e3 and then to g5. If we go back to the position where he played bishop to e3, here he's actually placing the bishop in a square that is not really the most active position for this bishop. Perhaps he could have played immediately bishop g5. Why wait two moves and then move it and give you time. Now you played h6, and the bishop has to make a decision now whether to trade the knight on f6 or move away. Your opponent chose to take on f6, which is not a very wise choice. I think bishop h4 would have been better to maintain this pin on f6. He took on f6, and you retook, of course, with the queen. So now more pieces are going towards the king side, and the next part of your plan is to advance this pawn and try to break open the defense of the king. You have your pieces well positioned this way, and later the queen might also participate either this way or this way. So all ingredients to start an attack on the king side. Very important that you are controlling this center square, so it's very difficult for white to find some counterplay with his light pieces. Rook to e1 was played, now g5, and here again I think this must have been a very difficult moment for white, because he needed to decide how to defend here. He saw your pawns advancing more and more. After this, h5 will follow and g4 will follow, and the defense of the king will be broken open. So he decided to stop the advance of your pawns by playing g4 himself. Perhaps a bit of a panic reaction, I don't know. Alternatives could be to play to actually make space on d2 to move this knight to d2. So for example, by playing knight to f1, and after h5 play knight e3 here, and perhaps even, let's see if it's possible here, yes, to play knight to d2. So the idea of this is to, with these two pieces, try to control this g4 square, and here if g4 is advanced anyway, we can take. I mean, this is an interesting pawn sacrifice by black that is a bit unclear how this is going to end. This would have been a better defensive strategy of white. Now the knight on f1 is guarding this h2 square that can be a key square for the attack of black. So perhaps this would have been a better continuation for white. But in the game he made the mistake of advancing this pawn to g4, attacking the bishop, and the bishop goes to h7. Now he goes with the knight to f1, and now you start very strategically rerouting your knight to a better place. You move knight to e7, and the knight is going to g6 and to the square f4. This is actually the reason why the move g4 was a mistake. He's weakening f4 tremendously, and this weakening on f4 actually meant the collapsing of his position. He played bishop to d3 now. You took on d3. He took with queen. Now knight goes to g6, followed of course by knight to f4. Knight to d2. First you played king to g7. This is a long-term idea, that what you want to do is to play this, then perhaps open here the h file and open already the passage for the rooks to go to the h file. Rook to e3, defending the third rank and making a space for the other rook to come nearby. Knight to f4 attacks the queen goes to c2, and now you continue with h5. Here you already have a very, very promising position. This knight on f4 is so strong, and the opponent's knights cannot trade it. There is no fast way to get to attack f4. Here he took, and you played rook to h8. Knight to f3. Knight takes h5. There is really not much that white can do. He played king to h2, and you continue with rook c to h8, and now it's in fact all over. There is no way to prevent you from entering on h3. So here your opponent resigned, and that's absolutely correct. He has a totally lost position here. The pressure is too big, and the defensive resources are not there. All your pieces are involved in the attack, and this king is there helpless. You write in your message that you sent me that your opponent is rated 16-17. I believe that absolutely. You don't mention your own rating, and I have the idea that your own rating is quite some higher than his. So it made me curious. If you have a rating, tell me how much it is, just out of curiosity. I have the idea that it might be around, perhaps above 2000, perhaps. At least in this game you played very strong, very consistent, and with the correct plans, making use of the weakened squares of your opponent. This is just a very good game. So congratulations with this win. One thing, of course, when people send me games, mostly they do because they want to learn something, and of course it's beautiful to show this kind of wins, because it gives an extra boost to your self-esteem, to your confidence in your own play. And it's, let's say, if you want to improve by having a critical look at your games, at your play, then it's an idea. Perhaps next time, if you send me one of the defeats or draws that you play, so we can look at what the points of improvement could be. But anyway, thanks for this game. It's very interesting and exciting to see how well you built up this attack against the white king. Well, thanks very much. If you like, you can go to my website and make a donation, and I'll see you next time. Alright, bye bye.